Hey y'all, welcome to episode 3 of Detox, the Spiritual Detox. I want to jump straight into this episode saying we have to learn when to and when not to take things so personal. I think at a certain point in life, we need to be able to really understand or know when something is directly aimed to us or not. I think it's so easy for us to get wrapped into this victim mentality to where we always feel victimized or hit when somebody says or does a certain thing. But a lot of the time, people's actions literally have nothing to do with us. And honestly, I'm speaking to myself as much as I'm speaking to everybody else, because I will admit that I take a lot of things personally, and sometimes I feel attacked or misjudged when I'm misreading a situation. So I think it's important for us to take note that everybody isn't out to get us, and everything isn't an attack to us directly. I think when we're going through certain things and we see certain things, it's easy for us to become a victim when everything truthfully isn't meant to hurt or harm us. And I'm not saying that we're wrong for jumping to those conclusions, because at the end of the day, we're all human, and when we are experiencing difficulties and we feel like people we know are sneak dissing us or just doing the most to make us feel uncomfortable, it's kind of hard to ignore it and accept the situation for what it really may be rather than what we think it is. But I think that a lot of us would reduce anxiety and feelings of anger and resentment towards ourselves and other people if we just ignore what's not directly said. I think, to be honest, as adults, if somebody doesn't directly say something to us, it shouldn't even affect us. If you don't have the strength or the energy to directly say what you need to say to me, I'm not even going to entertain it. That's just where I am now, though. Of course, it's taken me some time to grow up and stop giving energy to things and people who literally don't deserve my energy. Stop giving your energy to people, places, and things who don't deserve it, especially when it's negative. Don't ever shrink yourself to match somebody else's low vibrational energy. We're not doing that. Not in 2024. Not when things are going good for us. We're not even going to do that when things are seemingly going bad for us. We're not going to attract more negativity by feeding into it. I feel like, really, just hypothetically speaking, if somebody is speaking negative towards you and you peep it, but it's not directed, don't feed into it. Don't give that person the benefit of making you feel upset or disrespected. I feel like only miserable people continuously go out of their way to try to make other people miserable as well. You know what they say, misery loves company. Someone who ain't got nothing will not hesitate to make you lose everything that you have just because they don't have it. The only thing you should be doing is rising above, elevating. Let those people who are miserable stay miserable. Literally, pay them no mind, and I promise you, they're going to either fall in line or continue to be miserable. But whatever they choose to do is their business. At the end of the day, all you can do is be true to yourself and ignore the hate and the negativity. I feel like a lot of times when people are envious or people don't really know what you have going on, it literally triggers their soul. And that's not your business. It's really not. So again, rise above all of the hate and negativity and know when and when not to respond. Somebody who ain't got no business gonna always be up in somebody else's business, thinking they know what you got going on, what you doing, who you doing, whatever the situation may be. But for those who got business to tend to, they're not gonna be in your business. They're not gonna be worried about how you're living or what you're doing or who you're doing it with. So also keep that in mind. Another thing I want to touch bases on, when we've been traumatized by people that we know, love, and trust, it's easy for us to be guarded when it comes to forming friendships and relationships with other people. And it's easy for us to lack trust or faith in other people. But I think for the sake of us and what our goal is in building and creating friendships and relationships, or even just like forming bonds with somebody, it's important to heal so that we're not bringing our trauma and our trust issues into different bonds and relationships. And I say this because I personally just got out of a relationship a few months ago, and it's been hard for me to trust people, which is obviously making it hard for me to open up for anybody, although I do want another relationship somewhere down the line. But I realize also it doesn't just affect my romantic relationships, it affects my relationships with my relatives and friends as well. I think especially when we're hurt by relatives, whether we experience that hurt when we're young or old, it kind of makes it hard for us to believe that someone outside of family can be more genuine and have better intentions than the people who are literally your family. But I think that God will literally replace those bonds that you thought you had with people through other people. So for me, I'm learning to stop holding on to trauma, not just for the sake of myself, but for the sake of other people who may enter my life, because I know the energy that I hold and how I could be of help to others and what my intentions are. So I think it's just important for me to give other people that same grace as well. I think, honestly, any new friendship or relationship that's formed, you just have to go into it with trust until, I guess, somebody gives you a reason not to. Because you just never know the purpose behind God sending a particular person into your life. You don't know how that person may be helping you. You don't know how that person may be guiding you. And you don't know how that person may be healing you. But I think being resistant to who or what God is pulling you towards or away from is what leads to uncertainty, fear, and doubt. Of course, opening up and allowing new people in is scary, but the way I'm starting to look at life, I just feel like everything happens for a reason. And I understand being resistant. It's just difficult to pinpoint where a certain situation may lead you. But I think that just goes with having faith in God and trusting that whatever journey He's leading you on is helping you in some way, whether it's teaching you or molding you or even preparing you for another journey or another season. I no longer want what I want for myself. At this point in my life, I only want what God wants for me. I came across this clip. I believe it was from a podcast episode. And this lady was saying that basically sometimes we want things that aren't ready for us. And when we rush and try to force situations, they don't turn out the way God intended them to. So it's important to just be still and trust the process. And I think that's where I am right now. I'm just trusting the process. I'm trusting God and His timing. I feel like my life is so out of alignment right now. It's ridiculous. But instead of trying to force things to be that aren't meant to be, I am sitting in the unknown, literally just surrendering to the unknown and allowing what's meant to happen to happen. I think it's easy to be impatient and trying to force certain situations, especially when we know what we want. But I think it's important to know that sometimes God wants greater for us than what we want for ourselves, because sometimes we can't see the greatness that God sees in us, and we don't know the path that He has destined for us. So I think that just surrendering and allowing life to unfold naturally instead of trying to take the ball and take control of the situation is very important. I'd say vital, actually, because you don't ever want to be so impatient to where you have to go through and experience unnecessary things just because you had to have your way. Honestly, I've had enough of being impatient. I had enough of trying to control situations. I no longer want to be disappointed, and I feel like a lot of times we experience disappointment because we want to be in control. We're just co-creators of our reality. So I'm learning to be a co-creator instead of trying to drive the ship, because obviously I be taking all kinds of twists and turns that lead me down paths of destruction, honey. And now I want to experience no more of that. And honestly, I feel like at some point it's inevitable to not go down the wrong path, because again, I think that there's lessons in every season. But when you know that you just need to be a little more patient, then I think you should surrender and be patient and stop trying to control situations that are beyond your control. I guess what I'm trying to say is the vision that we have for ourselves may not necessarily be the vision that God has for us. I definitely feel like God would definitely align us with our purpose, which is in hindsight the vision that He has for us. Like, I definitely feel like my purpose includes influencing and creating, but my execution or my delivery may be different from how God wants me to execute and deliver. So I think that it's important for us to be open to change and to be okay with things happening differently than what we expected. Don't be so set in your ways that you can't be open to exploring new avenues or taking a different route. A lot of times I have to remind myself that God knows best. Because this is my life, I feel like I would know how to navigate it a lot better. But God created me, literally. I feel like He was very particular about who I am and what my vision will be and how my success will come about, what impression I'll leave on people, how I'll navigate relationships and friendships, what I will pour into people. So I think it's just best to trust God. And I literally say that with a smile on my face because I feel like when I get out of my own way, or when you get out of your own way, we're going to see how good life can really get for us. When we just release control and follow God's lead. And I don't mean to get all spiritual or religious, whatever y'all may want to call it, but I do have a really, really, really great relationship with God. And I literally depend on that man with my life. Like, I would not be where I am today. I probably wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for God and his role in my life. I've literally experienced so much and been through so much that I know I wouldn't be able to physically move on from if it wasn't for God. I'm grateful and appreciative to my mom who made sure I was in church every Sunday and allowed me to go to choir practice with her and just introduced me to God. But I feel like I really found God on my own. And because of that, I feel like my relationship with him is greater than it's ever been. When I awakened spiritually, I found God through experiences that I went through on my own. I didn't learn God because of everybody else's experience with him. And that's another thing. I think I spoke about losing faith in God. I think that it's easy to lose faith in God when you haven't experienced certain situations because you haven't really gotten to see God's hand physically in a situation that you've been in. You haven't gotten to experience him for yourself. But when you experience God for yourself and you see his hand play out in certain situations that you've experienced, it's more personal. You start to trust him and accept him for who he is. Sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I go through stuff and people will be like, pray, read the Bible. And I be like, I need somebody to physically be here and hold my hand and walk me or usher me through this. I can't call on God right now. But God will be the one who will place somebody in your life to be beside you and with you while you're experiencing difficulties, while you're heartbroken, while you're at your lowest point. But I ain't gonna take y'all to church today. I'm not gonna preach your head off, but I will wrap this video up by saying God is in control. And if you give God the opportunity to show up and show out, he's gonna do exactly that. I love y'all. Bye.